Hey everyone, so today we are going to be answering the question about, does more money or more fame or more fortune lead to greater happiness? And other similar questions, all coming together to create the best lifestyle for you. And it's very interesting because it goes deeper than you think, and even if you think you understand it, you may not be practicing it, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So this book is called How Adam Smith Can Change Your Life. I'm just browsing through it, and I'm reading this chapter in it, and basically the book is by Russ Roberts, and he's an economist, and what he does is he takes a book that was published many hundreds of years ago about um, morality and achieving happiness and so forth. And he takes that book and quotes parts of it in Old English and then just interprets it for us in modern uh, language so we can understand it. And he draws on those interpretations with his own examples and pretty much shows you all the things that go wrong in humans, and how you can achieve happiness and all these other things. And it's very interesting. The original book's called The Theory of Moral Sentiments, and it's a book by Adam Smith, who is a man who achieved tremendous wealth, and hundreds of years after he died, he is still very well known because he had a huge impact on economists and the economy through his book The Wealth of Nations, which is one of the most well-known, famous, most sold books on economic theory, still available. And it's one of the favorite books of Warren Buffett, billionaire investor, and he's like, I guess you could call him an economist in certain ways. Anyhow, Adam Smith wrote another book, and that was called The Theory of Moral Sentiments, but because The Wealth of Nations just overshadowed everything, no one really knows about this one. But what he wrote in this book is very universal, and you could tell this guy read a lot, and he had all these examples from history and all this stuff about philosophy. It was just incredible. So let's start off by talking about fortune and money and happiness and fame and family. And so if you like this video, if you find this video thoughtful, thought-provoking, leave it a like and hit the subscribe button to let you know when my next video is coming out. So let's get started. In this chapter, Adam Smith, he talks about in his book, The Theory of Moral Sentiments, happiness, and he clearly delineates, he clearly establishes that making more money and achieving more fame will not bring you more happiness. What leads to happiness is being loved and being lovely. Now that's a topic for another video. Being loved and being lovely. What does that mean? We'll get to that. But he mentions that, and I'm quoting here, what can be added to the happiness of a man who is in health, who is out of debt, and has a clear conscience? Now it's a rhetorical question, but he's basically saying very little can be added once you have these three things. I kind of want to disagree slightly, like good family, good relationships, but generally he's saying that financial stability, when you have your health and you don't have cancer or any big diseases or anything, and you have a clear conscience, so you're not doing stuff that you know is wrong, that makes you guilty and so forth. So those are the main things, and it's interesting because Adam Smith was a man who achieved a lot of wealth in his life with his book, The Wealth of Nations, and he did very well in life, and yet he's saying that these things will not bring you more happiness. And what's more interesting though is that he gives a great example of this. But before I get to that, Russ Roberts, he gives examples of plenty of people, and perhaps you are one of those who suffer from the same fate, who they may or may not understand this concept, and yet they're not practicing it. And he gives examples of wealthy people who are already from a wealthy family but choose to marry someone who's worth 10 times more than them, $500 million net worth, because they think that this, they're always chasing more and more, and that they think it will bring them more happiness. And he also gives the example of his friend who hates his job, but it pays exceptionally well, and any other job he could get would not make as much money. But every year his children gets older, he has high blood pressure, he always complains about the stress of his job, he hates his job, he doesn't find it enjoyable. And then, so he keeps asking Russ Roberts, the author of this book, well, what should I do? And each time Russ is like, well, quit your job, earn less money, spend more time with your friends and your family, and be happier. And this is the same ideology that Warren Buffett always gives. He's like, he told a student once, why are you putting all this stuff on your resume just to put it on your resume? It's kind of like saving up sex for your old age. And it's one of the reasons I admire Warren Buffett. Like he says that he never really restricted anything for him and his wife. He always, he never prevented himself from achieving or getting what he wanted, or enjoying life. And at the same time, he did stuff that he enjoyed. He never was like other people graduating business school who, put aside what they were really passionate about to achieve wealth. Now, again, that's a very nuanced topic. You can't just say, oh, I spent 10 years studying economics in school, I'm going to become a professional basketball player because that's my true passion. You kind of have to have a dose of practicality in there too, and there's all sorts of nuances. But that's a topic for another video, a video I've already uploaded and recorded, and it's on my channel. Go search it up. But it's all very interesting stuff. And the point of this is, this man, he tells him, quit your job and do this. And every year he says, I'll quit the next year. Once I make all this money, bag my bonuses, and win my contracts, and finish these deals, the next year I will quit my job and then be happy. But every year he keeps doing this, and he gets a raise constantly, and he keeps on keeping on with this job, and his salary grows every year, and every few years he moves into a bigger house, gets a new car. And here's the part that's really disconcerting. Russ Roberts writes, but is he happier? Evidently not. Despite the larger salary and the bigger house and the nicer car, he's not content. Just one more year, then he'll have enough, he says. And then this reminds me of the bar with the permanent sign, free beer tomorrow. And it's this constant struggle of this rat race that many people die never really finishing. It's always this, I want more money, or I want more contentment, or the more attractive girl, or the higher number of followers on Twitter, or whatever it is. It's this constant rat race that they never really escape from. And you see it everywhere. Millionaires wanting to be billionaires. You see it in people who are already living in mansions, looking at their neighbors trying to get bigger mansions. And it's this constant, never-ending rat race. And that's something that it's ingrained in all of us genetically for survival thousands of years ago. But now it's sort of it can be a detriment to us as well. And so it's one of those things that produces something great, but at the same time, that drive can also lead to ruin. So let that seep into your mind, because I see it wherever I go, of people of all income levels, and they're constantly trying and churning, and they think that they're free of this, but they're not. And they'll say stuff like, just because you're rich, you're not happy, and yet